I know you gonna dig this.
Get funky with me.
What's going on, everybody? So here I am today at Shannon Rose Hill Cemetery in Arlington, Texas. And buried here is somebody very infamous. And that's Lee Harvey Oswald, the assassin of JFK. Now, of course, the conspiracy theories abound. For all intents and purposes, we're going to leave that out of this because I'm dealing with something else to do with this grave. Lee Harvey Oswald is buried here. I'm going to have to find it. But I'm more interested in showing you who is beside him, whose name is beside him, whose grave is beside him, but who is not in that grave. Are you following? I'll explain. Let's find Lee Harvey Oswald's grave. Sorry? Okay, here we go.
It's showing it that it was right here, but it's not.
Here it is right here. So, here we are. That wasn't too difficult to find at all. Now, I don't know if this was left here for Lee Harvey Oswald or it blew from somewhere else. I'm assuming that it blew from somewhere else. But take a look. Now, it's covered in water because it's been raining for 2 days non-stop here in the Dallas, Arlington, Fort Worth area. There is the grave of Lee Harvey Oswald. You can see it's a pretty simple granite stone, that's it. It's one word, Oswald. But who's buried beside Lee Harvey Oswald and why? I'm going to show you right now. Nick Beef. And as you can see, I'm standing on the grave of Nick Beef. I always try to be respectful and try to walk between graves and not stand on someone's grave. But it's okay to stand right here because there's nobody buried here. And you know what? Nobody ever will be. Mr. Beef doesn't really exist, but he kind of does. Nick Beef is actually Patrick Aberdeen, who is a non-performing performance artist who lives in New York City. And when he was a child, he lived in the Fort Worth area, and his father worked on a military base. Patrick, the little boy at the time, had a run-in with the president and got to meet him. And it changed his life. And the next day he was at school and heard the terrible news. And it shocked him, as it did the entire nation. So when Patrick was 18 years old, he was still feeling the effects of the assassination, and he bought this plot next to Oswald for $175. Isn't that crazy? $175. It's a lot more expensive these days to buy a plot in any cemetery, I can guarantee you that. And left it unmarked. Right there. There's Oswald and there's what says Nick Beef. But it was unmarked for a long time. So in 1996, Patrick's mother died and he had to return to the area. So he decided to come here and check out his little bit of real estate here. And then he thought, well, maybe it's time to put a name down. So he went to the cemetery office and decided that he wanted a gravestone here. And he wanted the exact same dimensions and the exact same look as Oswald's beside it. So they asked him, what name do you want on it? He thought to himself, well, I have kids. And he didn't want, because he knew he was never going to be buried here. That's the thing. He wants to be cremated. He thought he has kids. So he went by, one of his performing names was Nick Beef. So he said, Nick Beef is the name I want put on the grave. So, Nick Beef it was. So the cemetery workers, I know this, they were confused at first when he said the name Nick Beef, but he had credit cards in the name of Nick Beef and he pulled them out to pay for the headstone. So they went ahead and did it, right? So that cost about $983, something like that, to get it inscribed with Nick Beef here. And conspiracy theorists abound about what was really going on here. Because if you do come to the cemetery and ask where Oswald's grave is, they won't tell you. They will, I mean, I think a few of them probably will give you a little bit of direction towards his grave. I'll tell you right now, if you come in and you want to see Oswald's grave, one of the most infamous killers of all time, you're just going to come in the front, make a left, go all the way up, look for this monument right here, and this big tree, and Oswald's right here. But I'm here to see Nick Beef, of course, like I said. So they won't tell you that he's here or where Oswald is, but a lot of people said that's who Nick Beef is. Actually, it was two reporters that bought the plot so that people would have to come in and say, yes, where's Mr. Beef? And then you'd be able to find, and that was a big code to find where Oswald is, the name Mr. Beef or Nick Beef. Other people said he was a New York stand-up that did jokes about the assassination in his act and all that. None of that was true. It's actually just a performance artist who thought it was a funny name, but who actually has a deep, deep connection to the JFK assassination. Right, that monument, that tree, right there. Oswald and Nick Beef. Now, the real Nick Beef, who is the performance artist, who will never be buried here, who will be cremated, he is a bit of an odd duck. He seems like a cool guy. I mean, he speaks very eloquently and passionately about JFK and about how the world changed, how one man, Oswald, changed the course of history and changed the course of this country, America. But he seems to take a. I mean, he was silent for a long time, but now he's more vocal about the fact that he is actually Nick Beef, Patrick Aberdeen. But if you watch this clip right here, my man Chris Cuomo from CNN, who always has an eyebrow, he does not look impressed with the story that Nick Beef is telling.
So will you be buried there?
No, actually, I prefer to be cremated, ironically enough. So.
But would you do it again?
Yeah. Would you buy it again if you had the opportunity?
Well, absolutely. It was something personal. It was never meant as a joke. It was never meant as a hoax or...
It was a more innocent time that way, for sure.
Well, yes, it was. And that innocence changed, the next day after I saw Kennedy when he was gone. And in that short year, we saw how the world changed. And that's what that's always reminded me of. It wasn't put there to, as a joke.
It's great. Patrick Aberdeen, great to meet.
I love that clip. That whole interview is great. If you want to watch it, take a look. But Chris Cuomo does not look impressed at all. He seems very skeptical of Mr. Beef's reasonings behind why he bought a plot here. But like I said, I think he meant to do it for. He wanted a connection to the assassination. He didn't seek out fame. He's now come forward, yes, but he's not seeking. He bought the plot when he was 18 and felt a really deep connection. He met the president. He met JFK the night before he was assassinated. But a lot of people do ask, who is Nick Beef? Who is Nick Beef? This is Nick Beef. And he's buried here beside Lee Harvey Oswald. All right, so from the gravesite of Lee Harvey Oswald and the gravesite of Nick Beef, who's not there, but Lee Harvey Oswald is there, Oh, or is he? He's definitely... You say you didn't want to be on camera for this one.
Sorry.
Okay, so from the cemetery where Lee Harvey Oswald is buried, where Nick Beef is not buried, but where Nick Beef's headstone is, but like I said, he'll never be buried here. Lee Harvey Oswald is right there, though. Normally on my cemetery videos, if you've seen them before, I visit a lot of cemeteries to pay my respects to people. Lee Harvey Oswald, I don't know what to say, really. I'm hearing more about Nick Beef and to explain to you who Nick Beef is. We all know who Lee Harvey Oswald was. All right, thanks for watching. Peace out. Let's get some close-ups and stuff.
Yeah, it looks like, because I know Oswald, he still has family. He had a daughter,
June.
and I'm
Her name's June, I
pretty
think.
sure that this probably came from them.